Okay, seeing that it is 7 o'clock and we do have a quorum, I will call the meeting to order. So just a couple of housekeeping rules before we get going. If you want to speak, please just walk up to one of the microphones and stand there. I will acknowledge you when it's time to speak. Just when you do that, please give me your name and your address so we know you're resident. If you're a non-resident and you'd like to speak, you can if 10 people will allow it, so just let us know. And we will ask the group if they would like you to speak, and they will allow you to speak. Alrighty, we can get started.
Good evening, everyone. Max Sheriff, 80 Pine Knoll. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town, Mr. Farwell. I move that the town vote to waive the reading of the warrant and return of service thereof, and to authorize the moderator, pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 39, Section 15, to declare a 2/3 vote on voice votes if he deems it so.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, this is just the housekeeping to allow me to call votes. Don't forget, you can always question my call, and we can go to a hand vote.
Point of information, how does one do that, sir?
Just put your hand up just like that, and we go from there. Okay, so we're voting on Article 1. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is unanimous. Article 2.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Greetings all. Neil Maximilian, 117 Cliffwood Street. I move Article 2. I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash, so-called as certified at the close of fiscal year 2024, the sum of $1,100,000 to pay for such costs as paving and the maintenance, repair, and construction of town byways and bridges.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation?
Yes, this is done traditionally in our fall special town meeting to give flexibility to the DPW to procure contracts, competitive prices from contractors for any needs that may come up.
Okay, we're voting on Article 2. Oh, stand up, go to the microphone.
I thought you were going to give opportunity to speak to it. I'm sorry. Sonia Bykowski, 225 Main Street. So I attended select board meetings about this, and this article originally was written to accept funds being provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under the provisions of Chapter 90 of the general laws to pay for specifically maintenance, repair, construction of town ways and bridges, or take other action. And it was moved to, so my understanding is, if we had gone that route, those funds would be coming from the state, provided by the state. And it was then changed to the language you're seeing tonight, which this funding actually comes from our own pockets. So given a choice between funds being provided by the state or coming from our own pockets, I'd prefer it come from the state. Therefore, I move that this article return to its original language as follows: to see if the town will vote to accept funds being provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under the provisions of Chapter 90 of the general laws to pay for such costs as allowed by appropriate legislation in connection with the maintenance, repair, and construction of town ways and bridges, or that it take any other action in relation to. Basically, this just means it will be exclusively going to roads and bridges, the funding.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, Sonia, since there's no funding here now, that actually, I can't have that. That motion's out of order and we can't use it because there's no funding.
What do you mean?
There's no funding at this time. The funding's coming later. So they haven't offered us any funding, so we can't accept the funding. So that's why this is it. There's no funding being offered at this time from the state. That comes, and that's why we always vote on this at the regular meeting, to accept that funds. They haven't offered it yet. That money hasn't come out yet.
You don't, but you don't.
Later, not now.
No, it's good.
Right, that's why,
Our fiscal years don't match, so the Chapter 90 money from DOT, i.e. the state,
I'm sorry, I never did that explanation to me, you had what from Hill. And I thought it was changed without getting back to the change. So, thank you.
any more? Okay, we are voting on Article 2. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is unanimous.
Okay, Ed Lane, 101 Crystal Street, and Mr. Moderator, Article 3. I move that the town vote to create, in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 5B of the General Laws, a special purpose stabilization fund to be known as Rest of River Special Purpose Stabilization Fund for the purpose of mitigating costs and/or damages as a result of the remediation of contamination of the Housatonic River. And further, to transfer from free cash, so-called as certified at the close of fiscal year 24, the sum of $26 million to be placed in said fund, and this is a 2/3 vote.
Is there a second? Okay, explanation.
Okay, it's kind of it shouldn't be too complicated, but it is kind of a weird explanation I have to give on this. A special stabilization account has to have a name, so this name was assigned to it. This doesn't mean that that's the only thing that this money can be used for. Frankly, this money, this $25 million from GE, was given to the town to use for basically whatever they want. We want to put it into a stabilization account because right now it's in the general fund. We want to move it into this fund, and it will accrue the interest in this fund where it's designed to go to. The intent of this money when it was given to the town, or was the consensus of the board at the time, was to use it first and foremost for the residents of Lenoxdale, anybody affected by the river, and so forth. So that's where we want the first part of this money to go. We don't have a plan for that yet because the rest of the river cleanup is, even the plans of it are agonizingly slow, so we don't know what damages we're going to have or what we're going to have to face as the time goes on. So we want to put this money here to have it to use for that purpose. Unlikely we'd use it all for that, and we'd use it for other things as time came along. And we can, by a 2/3 vote, it wouldn't be done behind closed doors or anything, by a 2/3 vote later on, say next May or a year from now, we can move it into another stabilization account for another purpose. But it's the intent of this board and the town to take care of Lenoxdale first and the residents of Lenoxdale. It's kind of a weird explanation. I hope you understand it, and if there's any questions, I could try to answer it and clear it all up.
Shelley Bykowski, 225 Main Street, hello. I just have one question. Is what you're describing a dedication? Is that a dedication of the funds in the special purpose stabilization?
I guess the answer would be yes.
Okay. Then I'm just going to move that we use that
Wait
verbiage.
a minute, hold on, Sonia, let me correct that with our attorney.
Okay.
You're creating special purpose stabilization fund and it's a transfer. I don't believe the terminology dedication is something that is contemplated by the, at least on the separate thing. Perhaps you would clarify where she goes.
Yeah, can you clarify what you mean by that or why you're asking that question?
Well, I go online and read about laws and things, and so I read up on this special purpose stabilization funds in the Massachusetts, I think it was like fiscal handbook or something from the I think Department of Revenue.
Sure.
So what I read is that you need to make a dedication, it used the word dedication, that's why I'm asking this question, before the next fiscal year in which, the fiscal year in which the dedication or termination is to commence, and it shall be effective at least for 3 fiscal years. So that's why I'm asking, because it used the verbiage, a dedication shall be made. That's why I'm asking, and I'm going to move that we use this verbiage. A dedication shall be made to use these funds for the remediation of costs to citizens affected by the GEPCB contamination cleanup and storage. That's the intent, right? So that's my motion.
That's, okay, first of all, it's not a dedication, but just to clarify.
I am the business with that.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to amend.
You gotta look at it real quick. No, you shouldn't be tied to swim out. Fitted. Got to solve it, that thing just was made good. It's a good thing, I need to do that way, very patient. Yeah, thing, what thing is good, I think it was like it was. So I think this, the boss, true, fashion station, we're not at, we're every year. No. We're doing one-time trade, right?
One-time transfer.
Okay. Again, this doesn't work. Because the dedication is when you're having funds coming in year after year. This is just a one-time thing, so this is money. This is just a transfer, so your motion again does not work.
You go get it, please.
You understand what I'm saying, Sonia?
I can do what you're saying.
Yeah, that's just the way the law is written. Any other comments?
Mark Smith, 210 East. Ed, so this is just for the residents of Lenoxdale? Because you mentioned that a couple times.
No, not at all, not at all. Actually, that's the point I was trying to make. It's not just for the residents of Lenoxdale.
Okay.
The intent is we want to stand by the residents of Lenoxdale if there was any mitigating damage that needed to be repaired or anything we could do to help out. But it's by no means just for Lenoxdale, no.
Okay, thank you.
On Town Romeo 54 Ronald Street, so if I understand this correctly, by moving it the way you are, the interest accrued from this money will stay in that stabilization fund as opposed to the general fund. Is that what you're trying to do?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
The support of.
There's that 10.
Do you want my name and address again? So, but that can be used for other things. I know you said at the meeting it wouldn't be used willy-nilly, were your words, but that doesn't have to be used if that's in the fund just for the GE remediation, is that correct?
To be used for anything else, you'd have to go to a town meeting and there'd be a 2/3 vote to change that, to spend any of that money.
So you're saying this is dog-earing it only for the PCB and GE remediation or cleanup or ramifications?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Shit.
Okay. We are voting on Article 3. This requires a 2/3 vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is unanimous.
So, Mr. Moderator.
Go.
I move that the town vote to transfer from free cash, so-called as certified at the close of fiscal '24, the sum of $71,166.40 in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023, Section 197, to the Opioid Treatment Special Revenue Fund for the purposes identified in the settlement agreement with the opioid distributors and opioid makers.
Okay. Explanation?
So, this is not taxpayer dollars. We get funds from drug companies to help us treat people who are afflicted with opioid dependency. The town of Lenox doesn't have a treatment facility, So we engaged with the town of Great Barrington, with the Rural Recovery Center down there, to treat the substance abuse people.
Any questions? Okay, we are voting on Article 4. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Sorry.
Opposed, nay?
I'm
Unanimous. I'm sorry, what?
You had a question. Oh, did you have a question? Did you have a question?
I did.
Okay,
I
come on.
apologize, I couldn't see you. I was speaking.
Oh, it's Maria Degnan, 15 Cliffwood Street, Lenox. And when you say the people, who are the people?
Oh, I have no idea. They're the ones that are diagnosed that need treatment.
That happen to live in Lenox?
I'm old and I'm deaf.
Oh,
So you need to help me out.
That live in Lenox? These are people who have opioid use disorder that live in Lenox?
Yes,
Is it a program?
they can live anywhere, but
South Carolina,
it's,
anywhere in Berkshire County that we just did it to the Rural Recovery Center because those people know how to treat people with substance use disorder. At Town of Lenox does not know how to do that.
Okay.
well, we don't have a facility to do that.
It's not a Calvin County though.
No, but we don't have a hospital either, and
Right.
they go to Pittsfield. It's just,
You know, it's good.
but we don't pay the hospital.
Yeah, it's a pass-through funds that we get, and so we pass them on to
An appropriate facility. Okay.
people that have substance use. So,
Good. Pretty similar to the Breeding Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
no,
We've actually already voted, so.
We already did this, right?
But man, needs you.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Max.
if they stay.
Yeah. Sure, great.
We vote.
Mary Beth Mitz, 20 Dunmore Court, Article 5, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $103,040.31 from the town's short-term rental funds to the town manager for transfer to the Lenox Affordable Housing Trust.
The second?
Explanation?
This is 25% of what was collected in short-term rental funds during 2024. We did the same thing last year and transferred 25% of the short-term rental funds. That totaled about $95,000 last year. This year, 25% is $103,000, and that will go to the trust so the trust can perform their community housing activities.
The county still living. We will get 8.
Okay, we are voting on Article 5. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Much pretty good.
Good evening. Tom Delasco, 12 Hillside Drive, Planning Board Chair. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw by deleting Section 9.2, accessory dwelling unit, and replacing it with a new Section 9.2, accessory dwelling unit, and by deleting the definition of accessory dwelling unit in Section 4, definitions, and replacing it with a new definition, and by deleting H.4, accessory dwelling unit in the Section 5.2 table of uses, and inserting a new 8.3 accessory dwelling unit in Section A, residential uses, as set out in a handout available at town meeting in substantially the same form as discussed at the Planning Board's November 12th public hearing.
Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Explanation.
The proposed zoning bylaw presented before you tonight is in response to the Affordable Homes Act, which the governor signed into law in August. The goal is to encourage new housing units by allowing the development of accessory dwelling units as of right or by right in every city and town. Lenox already has an ADU bylaw on the books, which the Planning Board has significantly modified to become consistent with state law. For this presentation, please refer to your green Article 6 handout. The Affordable Homes Act codifies a definition that removes the owner occupancy requirement of an ADU, or the principal dwelling unit, allows towns to prohibit short-term rental of an ADU, and clarifies that the square footage reference applies to gross floor area. ADUs will now be allowed as of right and are subject only to reasonable regulation. We can regulate where they can go and impose performance standards for siting so long as the regulations are reasonable. We can't impose special permit or other discretionary requirements for a single ADU. Note that the proposed new bylaw does not apply to existing ADUs which hold a special permit. The current bylaw imposes many discretionary requirements that are no longer allowed under the new state law. Any of these listed behind me could be challenged in court as unreasonable regulation. The new bylaw defines an accessory dwelling unit consistent with the new state law. It allows ADUs as of right in all residential and commercial zoning districts. As a technical note, Table 5.2 in the handout shows ADUs moving to A, residential uses. The number in that will actually be 9, not 3. This is so that all the other uses in the table don't have to be renumbered, which would affect references throughout the entire zoning bylaw. The gross floor area of an ADU cannot be more than 50% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. For example, a property with a 2,000 square foot house would be limited to a maximum ADU size of 900 square feet. The ADU would be required to meet all of our existing dimensional requirements as well, such as setbacks, maximum lot coverage, maximum building height, etc. The new state law focuses on single-family residential zoning districts, but the planning board recognized the fact that there are many residences in the commercial zoning districts and decided to expand ADUs as of right to those districts. It also recognized the fact that there are several duplexes or two-family homes in town and wanted to allow for a single ADU where appropriate by the special permit process.
Planning board recommended.
Planning board recommended, yes.
Go.
Hi, Randy Grimmett, 169 Underground Road. Does the new bylaw or the current bylaw, you said it could prohibit the use of ADUs for short-term rentals. Does the current bylaw or new bylaw have that language in it?
The current bylaw does not. The new proposed bylaw does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We are voting on Article 6. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is unanimous.
Article 7, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw by deleting and replacing the existing definition of short-term rental from Section 4 definitions with a new definition of short-term rental, and by amending 8.4 short-term rental of residential properties by adding 8.4.2.5 to general requirements for all short-term rentals, thereby prohibiting the use of accessory dwelling units as short-term rentals, as set out in a handout available at town meeting and discussed at the Planning Board's November 12th public hearing.
Is there a second? Explanation.
To stay consistent with the intent of the new ADU bylaw, as well as the prohibited short-term rental use, the definition of a short-term rental in Section 8.4 short-term rental of residential properties must be revised. For this presentation, please refer to your green Article 7 handout. The proposed definition and bylaw change does not apply to existing ADUs with a special permit and existing short-term rentals that are registered with the town. We seek to move the term accessory dwelling unit from the permissive section of the definition to the restrictive section. The focus of the Affordable Homes Act and the new ADU bylaw is to promote permanent housing. Allowing new ADUs to be used as short-term rentals conflicts with the intent of the new state law. Under section 8.4.2, we propose adding the following language shown in red, line number 5.
That's it. Planning,
Yes, planning board recommended.
Any discussion? Okay. We are voting on Article 7. This is a 2/3 vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Well, thank you all for coming out on this beautiful night. I will definitely, drive safely, and I will entertain a motion for to go home. Alrighty, everyone have a great night and a safe holiday.